Carl and Damon here from Brrraains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And they made what into a TV series. And we're just doing a big one here. No episode by episode because it's been out for a while now. And we waited patiently, thought would be fair, thought would be decent and say, hey, no worries, we'll wait till you release it in the UK. And they just haven't. They just haven't. I guess I want to rant about this to begin with.
Yeah.
This is baffling me. This is absolutely baffling me. It feels backwards. It feels like we're going backwards in regarding releases because of these multitude of streaming services and this insistence that it can't be released in this territory. It's encouraging piracy, right? Mm-hmm. It's encouraging piracy. Because you're like, well, I want to watch this, but I can't because you won't release it here. And what's fucking annoying is they'll give it all like, oh yeah, our shows, are available. It's going to be available on Peacock. And Peacock shows are shown on Now TV in the UK.
Yep.
Except this isn't on there. And several other shows aren't there. What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to watch it then? So you end up using VPNs.
Yep.
Or you end up using it, downloading it legally. You know, of course. We're not saying that's how you should do it. But hey, if they're not going to make it fucking easy for you to watch and you want to watch it, and you're willing to pay to watch this and whatever and sign up and stuff like that, but they won't give you that option. Watch via whichever means you get, folks, is what I say. They get what they deserve.
Yeah, exactly.
It's absurd. It's absurd. And you know what it also screams? Fuck all faith in this. Got fuck all faith in this. We're not going to waste our time trying to promote it or push it over in other distributed areas.
Yeah, I mean, I was hopeful for season 2, but I doubt it.
I'd be very surprised.
So would I.
I'd also be very surprised based off the ending, because that ending, I think, is the most backwards ending I've ever seen set up. But we're going to get it. What we're going to do, we're going to talk through it, but not in a sort of step-by-step. We're going to give you overviews, because we want to do this whole review in one big video. There are many out there already. We'll come to it very late. Oh, well, that's how we want to do things. It is, of course, Twisted Metal, the American post-apocalyptic action comedy television series developed by Reese, Paul Werrick, and Michael Jonathan Smith, based on the vehicular combat video game franchise of the same name, published by Sony. So let's begin with that. Let's talk about our thoughts on the game series. And I'll start this off simply. Never really played it.
No.
Never really played it. So there were two vehicular combat games that kind of came out around the same time on the PlayStation. And for some reason, Twisted Metal, now I have played it, I do remember playing it,
yeah, me too.
Particularly at a friend's house during school time, secondary school, which is what my age would have been. But the other one I remember more is Vigilante 8. That's what I played. I have no idea why that happened. Maybe it's just what we got hold of.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely played this game before because I remember
recognise the characters. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But I mean, Vigilante 8 is the one we played multiplayer so many times. Yep,
absolutely. Got re-released, I think, on the Xbox 360 a few years back. Vigilante 8, yeah. Cool. I think it's I think it's quite old, where it's like still 200. No, remember back in the day, it was 200 gamer score.
Wow,
but Vigilante 8, it's quite an easy completion if I remember as well.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so like that was it. That's it. Never really. I when I went looking to sort of see how big the franchise was, I was like, okay, right. It's been quite a few, but certainly nothing groundbreaking compared to what is often considered. When people think of Twisted Metal, I think they think of 1 and 2 from the early days of the PlayStation. That's what they think of. So that kind of says to me, oh, could that be a problem for the show then?
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to appeal to the video game crowd,
had to be something recent.
Yeah, you're appealing to people of a certain age group.
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think this is aimed at an adult audience completely.
Yeah.
Completely. So there is that aspect. And I do think they've done a really good job of making it appealing to someone that's never, ever played it.
Yes.
Ever played the game. In fact, I don't think it's even that good of an adaptation, because I think something like Twisted Metal is unadaptable. How do you tell that?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain games which shouldn't be touched, and I just don't see how they made this into a.
Oh, they did. They did.
I know they did. I mean, and don't go. I enjoyed aspects of it.
Yep.
But yeah,
I enjoyed aspects of it as well. But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, well, there's no, like, if you're sitting there going, I'm going to watch Twisted Metal, the TV series, and oh, well, that's not like the game. That's not the game. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What's like the game? Oh, yes, it has an overarching storyline about competition and winning and getting your wish from this guy and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
But, like, that's not going to translate into a good TV show.
No,
it's not. Which is why, again, I bring it up. What the fuck is with that ending? But we'll get to that in a bit. So, yeah, I mean, the overall, let's give our overall thoughts on the adaptation of this as the video game into a TV series goes. I think it is impressive overall for what was done. I think it suffers from the simple fact that it's unmemorable. That I reckon, and as of time recording, it's been about 2 months since I watched this, and I remember a fair amount of it, but I think all I'm remembering is the big stuff, the stuff you saw in the trailers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The nuances and all of that, I think over time it's going to be completely forgotten about. I do not see this lasting long in memory.
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed it, and there was obviously some things which I thought were predictable, which
of course
it actually changed my mind in certain aspects. Can I say it? Yeah, well, I suppose I can.
Of course, can. We're doing an overview. Yeah.
So the relationship.
Oh, okay. Right. No, stop.
Okay.
Because I actually want to cover that in a whole segment.
Excellent, yeah.
I've separated that as a thing I want to talk about. We've got some points that we're going to focus on, and we're going to discuss each one as we go on. Cool. And the relationship, I presume you're talking about John and Quiet.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, definitely. We're going to cover that in a little bit. So for now, let's just reiterate, the series was released on Peacock on July 27th, 2023. All 10 episodes dropping. And as of this date, which is, what are we today? The 19th of October? Yeah. The 19th of October, 2023. It is still not available to watch in the UK. Don't know about other territories. Don't think it's available in some others as well. But there you go. Absurd.
Yep.
Absurd. Yeah, like I said to you already, not encouraging piracy, of course. Absolutely don't. If you can pay, you should. But if they're making it impossible, find your own means. So yeah, general overview of the show, our thoughts and feelings and things like that. I found it quite watchable. Mm-hmm. I found it kind of went past in quite quickly. I never really felt like I was getting bored for the most part. I found it quite snappy. I was intrigued to see what was going to happen. I liked the adventure side of things. There are some things I really don't like, but we're going to get to them a little bit more as we go on. But overall, I think I reviewed this show for the site. I wrote a review back when it first came out, and I think I gave it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. And I think I stand by that.
Yeah.
I think a solid 6, maybe top end of 6, pushing to a 7 for an overall enjoyable show that most people can enjoy.
I think they had a pretty strong cast too, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a major part of it, yeah. And we're going to break them down then. And we're going to go for each individual major character as they are. We have Anthony Mackie as John Doe. So, John Doe doesn't really have a backstory because it's about his losing his memory, but we do get an episode where we have that flashback to sort of see where he found his car and elements like that. He has to balance a mixture of badassery, comedy, and a guy who's got a bit of heart. Yeah. How do you think he does?
Very well.
I think he does very well too.
From other than Sweet Tooth, he's my favourite character. So.
No. There's someone else I like more than him, but I think he was really, really good. And I don't really know. And although Anthony Mackie's done lots of stuff, obviously these days he's probably most known for playing Falcon.
The Avengers,
in the Avengers and those movies, and now the new Captain America and stuff like that. So to see him in this role, I thought was quite a nice little turn.
It's very different, yeah.
Swearing, being a bit cheeky, sex scene as well in a ball pit, stuff like that was great. Talking about his partner then in this, it's Stephanie Beatrice as Quiet. Now, I thought I would really struggle with her because I know her from one thing and one thing only. Brooklyn 911. Yep. Is it 911? Brooklyn 911. Yeah, the comedy show that ran for many, many years. She's in that. She plays Rosa. I think it's Rosa. I haven't watched it in a while. So I knew she could do comedy, but she also kind of... I was like, oh shit, particularly when I saw the trailer and she's just a badass. I was like, oh my God, isn't that just a character from Brooklyn 911? Yeah. I'm like, is that how it's going to be? But I'm going to give them credit. They do a bit more with her. They show a little bit more heart. There is a great episode where they're basically stuck in one area because of the storm. Yep. And we kind of find out a little bit about her history, particularly her relationship with her brother as well. Yeah. We'll mention now as well who's Loud. He's called Loud, and that's played by Richard Cabral. I really like that episode. That was really, really good stuff.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I like her. I end up liking her. I do.
50-50. I mean, she plays the role well, considering that basically she has to be quiet.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and her facial expressions are really good for the role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about it, really. Yeah.
Okay, 50-50 for you. All right, then we reach Joe Suwana, a.k.a. Samoa Joe, as Sweet Tooth, with Will Arnett providing the voice of Sweet Tooth. So you have Joe doing the sort of physicality of it, and then you have Will Arnett's voice. You've already said it. Best character in the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Funny, violent, entertaining. But the actors, the combination of Joe's, like, he's so expressive with his body that you don't even almost need the voice.
Nope.
And I love Will Arnett. So Will Arnett doing that voice is perfect for me as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a great combination. I think... That's really noisy. I think it gets a little bit too silly at the end with the head on fire bit, but it's still quite entertaining all the way.
Yeah, I mean,
He's great.
Yeah, great. He's a brilliant character. You know, the stage set up. You know,
The layers of him, having this thing that way he just wants people to enjoy his comedy, but he's obviously psychotic as well, making him look like a badass danger, but not someone necessarily that he can't beat as well.
Yes.
I thought was great. Easily the best, yeah absolutely.
Definitely.
I think he's everyone's favourite, really. But up there as my second favourite character, it is Agent Stone, played by Thomas Hayden Church. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. This twisted, fucked up authority figure, thinking he is control in a lawless world, but also being an absolute worst villain of all of them. And then getting his backstory in a later episode that shows he was just a pathetic human being.
Yeah.
That's all he ever was. Is brilliant. Because they could have done that and tried to make you feel sorry for him. And it's like, no, he was a loser.
A loser, yeah.
That was it. Yeah. And this is who he is.
Yeah.
I loved him. He almost beats out Sweet Tooth because he's just a good... You know what he is? He is a villain that you want to see get his comeuppance.
Yeah.
That's what you want. That's what I want sometimes. None of this layered villain about, he might have a heart and what happened to him. No! He's just a dick, and a dick that needs to get got. Loved him. Thomas Hayden Church is brilliant.
Oh yeah. Good character, yeah, definitely.
We already mentioned Richard Cabral as Loud, but let's just say he doesn't do a lot on this, but when he's the ghost, his cheeky demeanour and all that, I was down for it.
Good,
I liked him. We got Jared Bankins as Shepherd, which is Stone's number 2, ends up being killed halfway through the stroll by, it's quiet actually, when he's wanking in the office, that one. He's not in it enough really to leave an impact. He's a goon, but he's a number 2 goon. You can tell he's twisted as well. Neve Campbell as Raven. The trailers made a big deal about her being in the show.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's Neve Campbell. Of course, famous for things like Scream and elements like that. And implied she was going to have a bigger role. First episode, last episode.
Yeah.
And it's the most predictable part of the show for me. She's a bad guy.
Yep.
Something's going to go wrong here. So for me, none of it really works. I like when she does turn bad at the end.
Yeah.
I think she does that quite well.
Yep.
But like the trailers implied she's going to be a big part. She's not.
No.
She's not.
I mean, it's Neve Campbell. Obviously, she's obviously a great female actress.
Yep.
But yeah, not a role for her.
Yeah, she's a great actor. Ultimately, absolutely. And the last two I wanted to mention because they've kind of got major roles. We've got Mike Mitchell as Stu. So we've got these two bumbling sort of guys who've been trying to survive, end up getting caught up with Stone. One of them embraces the life, another doesn't, and there's a back and forth between this, and they end up, Stu in particular ends up being Sweet Tooth's number 2, almost to a degree, and throughout the show up into the end, that's kind of where they back and forth it and so on. So let's talk about Stu. Listen, I've seen his character too many times to really care about him here. The bumbling idiot who's overweight, clumsy, but somehow got a heart of gold and ends up teaming up with Sweet Tooth because he sees the true side of Sweet Tooth and all that, but then has to, live in fear, but also for some reason has some sort of fucking loyalty to Mike, who's played by Taj Vaughns, even though Mike fucks him over and even tries to kill him at certain points. I ended up really, really disliking Stu by the end and wanted him to get killed.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that this character gets played so often.
It's so fucking familiar.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a few funny moments with
Of course.
him, but I mean, as you
His
said,
interactions with Sweet Tooth are the best bits.
yeah, of course.
Because Sweet Tooth's in him.
Yeah.
But you know what I ended up really disliking Stu? I feel like he betrayed Sweet Tooth.
But 100% he did.
And I feel like Sweet Tooth was nothing but good to you. Mm-hmm. And just because Sweet Tooth was dangerous, and he betrays him for Mike of all people as well. So we'll say it now. There's a credit scene. You know about the credit scene, of course, that Mike will get killed and still be dragged off by Sweet Tooth, who isn't dead.
No.
Obviously, the end of the show will imply that Sweet Tooth might have been killed.
Of course.
But of course not. And I was like, ha!
Good.
That's what you get. But the only thing I was angry about was we didn't see Stu get killed. Implying that Stu will probably be in a season 2 if that ever happens.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
See, I mean, that's the major player. There's lots of smaller characters here and there. But I'm going to mention them as a separate thing because I didn't like them, really.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. So we're going to focus on certain aspects, and let's start with the world. The world it creates, this post-apocalyptic world. For me, what I wanted from a Twisted Metal game was it to feel wacky and to feel like it was post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
That surviving out there was hard and dangerous, and you did need these cities and all that aspects like that. So what do you think? Did you get any of that?
Not really, because I mean, apart from like the 1 or 2 cities you saw, you didn't really see much.
Yeah,
really.
you're driving through it.
Yeah, it's mainly roads,
Empty places, yeah.
Yeah, empty places, or like I don't know what the cafe or the restaurant or petrol station, whatever it is, and that's it really. You know, I was hoping more like a.
What about Vegas though? Vegas, we go there and that's wrecked. It's because I'm going to defend it. I think it actually nailed the post-apocalyptic side brilliantly. And what it nailed particularly for me was the fact that, yes, the parts driving in between and all that are empty. And it's overgrown. And it's CGI, of course, but it's pretty good CGI. But look what would happen if we were wiped off the planet, so to speak. Most of us were wiped off. What would happen? Nature would just take back over.
Yeah, of course. I was hoping more like a Last of Us sort of style world. But obviously we didn't get that.
Yeah, Last of Us goes bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course.
But I'd argue that this maybe didn't have the budget for that.
Yeah, of course.
But then I think, like...
I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, I'm in the middle, you know. So I think they've done well with the budget they had, but I wanted a bit more.
Okay, what about the wackiness then? Because this is an area that I'm not too sure it quite nailed. Well, it did kind of get post-apocalyptic vibes. I wanted it to be a bit more wild and wonderful, and instead, it all just feels very much like, you know, you go to these certain areas and certain things, and it felt like, oh, here's a Mad Max bit. The bits with the priest lot and all that. I can't remember what they're called.
Oh, yeah.
And the holy men. The holy men.
Yeah.
And elements like that. And it feels like, oh, this is the Mad Max bit. And then you go to Vegas, and that it's when we're inside, it's just a destroyed casino, and like it didn't feel quite that imaginative.
No.
The fact that the final battle takes place on what clearly is just an airport runway.
Yeah.
A runway.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like an area where cars could probably go to practice and drive. Was like, that's what we're doing this ending? I know you need the room for all his action sequences.
Yeah, of course.
But God, that was lazy.
Yeah, I mean, I thought like probably the best action parts were with the holy men and obviously the lorries on the road. I thought you know, but.
Yeah. I'm gonna get to that in a minute then, because the next part I want to talk about then is the overall story. And the basic story is really simple, which is milkman. He's a milkman, a delivery driver, can survive out there, goes and makes deliveries for people. That's what it is. But he's called John Doe because he lost his memory. To be honest, that's not that important of a plot, really. It's more about how he found his car that he basically loves. And he gets the opportunity to deliver something or collect something and bring it back by the character of Raven, Neve Campbell's character, in a certain amount of time. And if he does that, he'll earn a place inside the walled city, basically. His own house, he's showing it and all that. And he can basically stop living on the road. That's the story. Yep. Along the way, he'll pick up a woman called Quiet, and her brother were attacked by Stone. And her brother was killed, and she now wants revenge on Stone. And basically, that's the two convergent elements there. It's a simple story.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I don't think it's particularly inspired. And I think its divergences... subplots, divergences never really amount to much. It's always like, I always like Twisted Metal, see it as a road. There's a straight line that John Doe has to do. Every so often he comes off a lane, but it's not going in a different direction. The road never changes. All we've got to do is slight curves and divergences, and that's it. At most, I thought we got a big spike was when his car gets destroyed, and I thought, here we go.
Yep.
But even that it's still just a sharper turn.
Yep.
Instead of curving round to the main road, it's just a momentary sharp turn, temporary set of traffic lights,
Yep.
and then back onto the same thing.
Indeed, yeah.
So there is that, at least, and I will admire, at least they keep that focus.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But overall, as a story, it ain't that interesting, it ain't that exciting. And by the end, I'd actually forgotten. I remember being like, oh yeah, he's supposed to collect something.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you already covered, it's a straightforward story.
Yeah. What about John and Quiet's relationship then? Because that is the ultimate aspect of it. They're building relationship. From her threatening him to begin with and stealing his car, to them basically becoming a couple, de facto a couple, and how that builds and how she learns as well to let revenge go. But also learns to understand John and why that car, because she doesn't understand his love of the car. And when he particularly goes back to fight for it against the holy men, she sees it as a betrayal.
Yep.
But she has to learn that what she's missing is that it's not that he loves the car, it's that it's his only connection to his past. That was brilliant. Because I was a bit like, are they really doing this thing where he loves that car?
Yeah.
But then when I realised, it's the only thing he can connect to the past. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing he's got. I love that.
Yeah, so for me, as soon as I saw the girl, I started, here we go, this is the love interest.
Yeah, but right, okay, now I'm going to jump in, but why do you say that as a negative?
Because too many shows, I've got a point to what I was saying.
What?
Too many shows do this. They have to have a love scene. They have to have let's have two characters meet. Then they're gonna sleep together. They're gonna all this stupidness. Now, for me, when I first started, I thought, here we go. It's gonna be the usual crap. It's gonna be just a love scene. They're gonna fall in love, blah blah blah, or whatever. But this show actually changed it for me,
Right?
Because the fact that I know they had the sex and the ball pit, but that was entertaining. It was funny.
Yeah, it was done for laughs more than anything else.
Exactly. It wasn't like a stupid big. There's lightning outside. There's people being killed. Let's have
put candles on and soft music.
A big passionate scene.
Yeah.
It was done in a funny way. It was done with them constantly arguing, and then suddenly they kiss, and then they argue again, and when they're doing the whole 30
so
questions.
you like the way the relationship was portrayed.
Yeah.
Good call, because I would argue that, I would agree with you and say, well, in considering the world it is, they actually tried to make the relationship a little more real by, as you say, not getting along a lot of the time. It's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
I am similar to you. I sometimes wish shows would just be like, hey, maybe they don't need to bang.
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't need to fall in love. Maybe they can just be friends and just teammates and stuff like that. And it's like, but truth be told, that's never really going to be our choice.
No.
But I didn't mind their relationship overall.
No.
I found them quite sweet together. At first, I was like, this chemistry's well off. But I think over the show's run, it builds nicely.
Definitely.
Like, enough so that the ending, like when she shoots him to like, this is what you wanted and all that kind of thing, I thought was like, that's really fucking good.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, really good. So I'm going to say I was here for it. I was here for it. We kind of mentioned it already. Comedic tone. So this is a comedy action series.
Yeah.
Did it work? Did you find it funny?
Some yes, some no. I mean, I laughed at the whole Barbie girl scene. They're playing the Barbie girl.
Oh, right, like using music as
and then the whole like they had to keep taking the driving test exam or whatever. So I thought it was like
the torture's very good.
I thought it was quite entertaining. Sweet Tooth.
I would argue, I'm going to go there further. The entire DMV section, the lines and all that, it was used partially in the trailer, but I think that is fucking brilliant.
Funny,
because I do like comedy that uses what is in real life a torturous event. Now, thankfully, we don't have those sort of things in this country, DMVs and having to go there and stuff like that. But I'm well aware of the kind of nightmare situation that was created in America.
Obviously, Sweet Tooth was always funny, but other than that, I can't really think of anything else that really stood out other than that.
Naming specific scenes is a real struggle for me as well, but I will say that I think Anthony Mackie, John Doe, had really good one-liners. He had some very funny shit, and that's what made him in Quiet work as well, because she isn't funny. She has moments here and there, but the most part she isn't.
No.
I agree with almost everything, right? There's one scene with Sweet Tooth that I didn't understand why they played for laughs. His parents, when he goes to see them, they start off with being all heavy and then it turned into a sort of a comedy one.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care for that. And I was like, no, I would have liked this to have been kept quite serious to show that side of things.
That's what I thought. I thought it was going to be like a deep moment of regret and stuff like that. But then obviously it just turns into him shouting.
Yeah. But overall, I think it's when it was funny, most of it worked. The one major part that didn't work for me, where it was just like, you're trying too hard. The Holy Man. Now there is a couple of funny moments in it.
Yeah.
There's some funny ass lines by some people, and because obviously they're sexual deviants, so to speak. So there are. Of course, when Danny, I can't remember his name, Danny reveals Channing Tatum is his gimp. I felt like they saw that scene and went, let's do that, but for a whole group bigger and longer. And it's like, no, it was funny, and this is the absolutely. Action now. Action. So we're talking gunplay, hand-to-hand, and vehicular combat. And I think this is where the show might really be the biggest letdown of all. Yeah.
I think certain parts are good.
Okay.
But, I mean, the end battle was rubbish. I thought it was
I thought it was a real letdown.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But I like the scenes with when Quiet is fighting Stone
in the town.
Yeah.
The chase through the town was really good.
That I liked.
Yep.
Yeah, and then obviously he pulls out the big ass rocket. I think. It is.
Yep.
No, sorry. John Doe uses the big.
Yeah,
rocket.
And it's he's using machine guns. But yeah, that's good. Some good action scenes there. The chase for that town.
That.
Yep.
I like when Sweet Tooth is attacking the
prison.
Yeah, the prison.
Like the facility.
Yeah,
and just going on a rampage.
I like that because obviously he's as vicious. He doesn't take any prisoners.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't care for the end. I get why. Here's the thing: I'm okay with it purely because it was like, okay, let's do Twisted Metal, and this is where we're going to do it. We're going to do it here.
Yeah, of course.
Fine. The characters are wacky. They from the game. Here's the vehicles they use. No problem, absolutely. But when I was like, oh god, what other real action scenes are there? I was like, oh god, there's not a lot. And not a lot that I can really remember, like really, really strongly. And I was like,
A couple of car scenes, obviously
when we open, we get a good little scene of driving for the mall and stuff like that. But when it is good, as I say, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's some good Sweet Tooth stuff as well. We've kind of covered Sweet Tooth and Agent Stone separately as characters, but what about their side of the story? So Sweet Tooth basically finding his way in the world and realising that he's an entertainer that needs to go on the road. Brilliant idea.
Yeah.
How clever to get him out of there. Love it.
Yeah, definitely. Him and his bag, is it? His bag.
Oh, yes, the paper. Oh, we should have mentioned that in the comedy aspect.
I know.
That shouldn't have been funny. It shouldn't have been funny, but
was.
I laughed every fucking time.
Yeah, it just reminded me of like Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Well, that's what it is, isn't it? It's just that. It's an inanimate object. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Sweet Tooth side of the story.
Yeah.
Stones, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Like I already said before with the flashback and learning about him and learning basically the kind of person he is, I think he got more depth than he needed, and I love it. And like I said already, I reiterate this, villain that just deserves to get his.
Well, yeah.
And I didn't think they would. I didn't think they would at the end. Did you?
No, I mean, obviously, I was obviously convinced there'd be a season 2. I mean, there might still be, but probably not. But I didn't think he'd be killed off. I thought it just would have been.
No, I think he's a villain you kill off, and then you just introduce a new one if you're going to carry on. I don't think you need it. I think he gets what he deserves. I think he needed. I loved it. I was really glad they actually did. I was worried they were going to cheap out because they're like, oh yeah, she doesn't need to kill him anymore. She doesn't need revenge.
Yeah.
It's like, doesn't mean he gets to live. Come on. We already talked about a flashback segment of Quiet and Loud's life to slavery. That was the moment where I felt like it was really, really deep and dark. That's pretty horrible. The ear fucking necklace and shit, man. And I want to talk about what I think is the worst part of the show. So, randomly, out of nowhere, in an attempt to tie in more Twisted Metal characters, the likes of Granny dead. Amber Rose and Miranda Watts are jammed in this this lorries that run constantly around roads and stuff like that. Apparently never running out of fuel, because fuel wouldn't be a fucking commodity. Fuel would be a serious fucking commodity in a post-apocalyptic world, but they're just driving around as the convoy. And inside they've got cars and lives and all that. And then we've got Granny dead, and we've got this subplot about them having to go get something from Amber Rose, which is turning out is just so Granny dead can kill herself peacefully. And then you end up with a subplot of Amber Rose being in love with Miranda Watts, but they fell out. And then at the end of it, one of them might die, but then they don't commit to that, and they survive anyway. I hated it. It is, not only is the entire episode based around Granny dead, utter filler, because even John Doe and Quiet have an issue. They then gets resolved completely by the end. I was like, this is a waste of my time. It was a waste of my time.
Yeah, I didn't get it either, and somehow they built a Formula. As I said before, but they built a Formula 1 car in bloody.
Well, that's a Twisted Metal thing, so I'm fine with it.
I know, but it just
Okay, right. The ending. Let's talk about the ending and the setup for season 2. Okay. Oh my god, I was like, wait, what? Yeah. So the ending of season 2, of course, spoilers. Although we are, covering the show in a whole, so you should be expecting spoilers nonetheless. Basically, John Doe gets back. And it's revealed that it was all a lie. It was all a trick. He's not getting a place in the new world. Quiet goes off after shooting John, deliver her own life. But basically, John delivered ice cream. That was it. All she wanted to do was see if he was a fast racer, talking to the ultimate bad guy kind of thing. Can't remember his name, but it's from the game. He appears briefly when John first collects it. Can't remember his name. And they were trying to just collect the best drivers out there to take part in a competition, which is the game. And it's like, wait, that's season 2. Season 2 is going to go backwards and do the game thing, the tournament? I'm like, what a backwards way of doing it. And I feel like that's going to be worse than what you've done here, because that doesn't really have much of a fucking plot beyond... Because all you can see is, well, John Doe's forced to do it. And then you see Quiet running into another set of characters from the game who turns out to be the sister of John, apparently, from his childhood. And it's like all these subplots are opened up, and it's like, I thought it was a bad ending. I always thought it was a bad ending because the setup for season 2 seems regressive, seems backwards, seems non-forward thinking. It seems like, okay, we've introduced you to it now, and now everybody's okay with it. Now we can do the game stuff. And I'm like, but why? Why even do it?
Yeah, they crammed far too much into the last episode, and it was not needed. I mean, I don't think there'll be a season 2.
Well, that's the question I wanted to ask next: is do you think there will be a season 2?
No.
I'm puzzled over this one. I never really like to do these kind of predictions because who knows what goes through TV companies' heads. But do you know why I'm becoming more and more convinced season 2 won't happen? Because here's the thing, is this was successful in regards to streaming numbers. But I don't know what success means to them via cost. But what worries me about season 2 is the simple fact that this, for example, isn't available in this country as of the time of recording. And it's like, okay. And marketing-wise, it was marketed well, but like, it came and it went. Like, that's the thing, it came and it went. And the problem is, I'm beginning to wonder more and more about these shows because we have got nothing on Halo Season 2. Nothing. We know nothing about The Last of Us.
I know.
At the moment. Oh, they're planning it. They're going to do it. Well, when? It's already been ages. So what? And these were, I think, successful shows. So what makes them we're going to get one here?
I think The Last of Us Season 2 will happen. I think they're waiting for her to get a bit older. But Halo Season 2, I don't think it's going to happen.
The thing is, I don't want to get distracted with whether or not that happen. It's mainly, will this happen? I'm becoming more convinced it won't. But here's the most important thing, and the way I want to wrap this video up. I don't care. Do you care?
That's the problem, I don't.
Do you care if we get Season 2 of Twisted Metal? Season 1 is fine. It's enjoyable. It's watchable. But I don't care if we never get a Season 2.
No, done. Yeah.
There you go. That's our talk through Twisted Metal Season 1. What do you reckon? You got any thoughts on it? Do you agree or disagree with some of our points? Do you want a Season 2? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.